Hello, Hawk here, and I'm going to be talking about obtuse obliviousness. Now, obtuse obliviousness is something that I've come across quite recently, but looking back, it seems to be a major tactic of the left to use. So, obtuse obliviousness is mainly cut down into two reasonings and two ideas behind it. Now, the first idea was used in the old days with political debates. And panel shows and stuff like that. Whereas you would only have a small amount of time to respond to a question, and then there'd be a bit of a discussion. Now, what the left would do would make obtuse answers and respond in an obtuse way to right wingers, which would mean that the whole debate would go round and round in circles, and no one would really get to the crux of the issue. And obviously, the time would run out. And they used that quite successfully throughout all the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s with no real pushback, and that was pretty much the be-all and end-all. With the advent of social media, timeframes extended. So a social media discussion could go on for hours, days, weeks, possibly. And the idea of delaying time for a small amount dissipated. So now what they do for the delay in time of obtuseness is it's more wasting your own personal time. So instead of you going out and campaigning or, interacting with other accounts to, push your message, get things sorted, you're spending time responding to a leftist who already knows understands what you're saying, but are being so obtuse so that you waste time trying to explain yourself. And that sort of sets into the second reasoning of the obtuse part, which is the fact that they are just waiting for an ability to call you racist. Now, a good example of this is the discussions upon native British or native Europeans, at which point the leftists will ask, well, what is a native British person? Obviously, knowing full well what one is, it's quite simple. It's an Anglo-Saxon who's been here since the foundation of the nation of England. But what they will do is they will try to word it in a way where eventually you will have to say, well, it's a white person. At which point they will say, you're racist, I don't have to listen to your opinion. You're just racist. You're just wrong. That's it. Blah, blah, blah. Done. That's the end of the discussion. I win. And that's the major goal, because obviously they're not looking to prove their position right. They're just looking for the earliest opportunity to sneak off, scurry away from discussion and go back into their little echo chamber. So with that in mind, the obliviousness part comes from the inability to properly link together cause and effect. I can't understand why, if we import this many people from a nation that throws acid at people as a reasonable response to any discussions or disagreements, then why are acid attacks increasing? It's that obliviousness. It's, here's X that causes Y, but I just don't understand. I can't see both of those. I can't comprehend them being together. When merged together, it creates a wonderful tool where you will find yourself arguing against a brick wall and just wasting your time. Recently on X, I was in a discussion with, I believe his name is Farad Mossad from Lotus Eaters, and we were talking to someone in regards to nationality. He lives and works in Qatar, and the issue came from the Indians in the plane crash being British, of just having a passport. And Farad asked the simple question to this guy, well, if he's British because of this passport, are you Qatari? And the other guy just couldn't respond properly. oh, I don't understand what you mean. I don't get what you mean. I don't understand. He knew 100% what Farad was meaning. The reason why he was being obtuse is because he just wanted to find an easy excuse to call him racist. The issue is obviously Farad's not an Englishman, so he couldn't do that straight away. Eventually, it just descended into, well, 7 generations ago, Prince William had an Indian great grandmother. One member in 7 generations wasn't a white Caucasian, so how can he be English as well? At which point you're like, well, this is just an obtuse argument here. You understand exactly. The question is does a piece of paper make a race? And the answer is no, because this guy, even though he lives and works in Qatar, is not seen as Qatari. Even if he gets even with a passport or anything like that, he is not Qatari. They do not see him as Qatari, and that's it. And that's an example of the obtuse obliviousness on display. Another fine example is the recent inquiry into the Pakistani grooming gangs. Now, what you'll find the left will do in this is, when brought up, they will say, yeah, but white people rape people. At which point you go, yes, that is correct. Well done. Fantastic. Wonderful. And they say, but why aren't you bothered by that? And you'd think the response, yes, I am bothered by it. Those people get arrested, but this group of people, this Pakistani group of people, were not arrested. They were allowed to continue. The government and the police force helped them out, pretty much covered for them for almost 30, nearly 40 years. And it's only because of the hard work of certain individuals that it's even coming out. At which point, oh, but you just seem to be so interested in it. It's like, yes, I understand you're being incredibly obtuse and pretend to be oblivious as to the major reason why we're interested in this, because you deep down don't actually care that all these white girls were raped and abused. What you're actually worried about is the fact that there might be repercussions for people who covered it up, like the media. So the obtuse obliviousness is a really good tactic when you think about it, because it's playing dumb. It's incredibly smart people, and I say incredibly smart people in the way that they believe that they are incredibly smart with their degrees and their achievements and certificates, pretending to act like they have an IQ of 14, where you must explain every single thing to them in minute detail. Otherwise, there's no way that they could possibly understand anything. Listen, I've just got a PhD in astrophysics. I don't understand how math works. I can't understand per capita. I'm just a university graduate. So the best way to combat the obtuse obliviousness defense, or even in a lot of cases attack, is to just say bluntly what you mean. And if the person responds in a way they're like, well, I don't understand, just ignore the whole conversation. Move on from the conversation. Just know that person understood exactly what you said. They know exactly the point you're coming across. And most likely, they haven't actually got a defense for your point. If you say a point straight out and go, this is my point, and their response is obtuseness, then you're right. It's such an easy way to combat it, and just do not waste your time. That is one of the main things you must learn about interactions with the left. Do not waste your time. Your time is precious, and you can be doing a lot more than interacting with a person who, quite honestly, their only defense is, I want to see the destruction of the West. You're trying to stop me getting that. So I will oppose everything, and I will be a liar, a cheat, and a downright scoundrel in my attempts to get what I want. Remember, facts, truth, information, the left do not care. All they care about is, does this justify my ideology getting to where it needs to get to, which is a revolution to overthrow the current power structure. And once you realize that, everything makes it a lot easier. When people actually ask serious questions, you know that you've got a good debate. When people ask or respond in an obtuse way, you know that what you've got is a leftist trying to waste your time. So that's obtuse obliviousness. I hope it helps a little bit. It's a very difficult thing to describe, but once you open your eyes to it and you see how they word things and how they respond, you'll start to realize that 90% of all leftist interactions is this. This is the foundation block of discussion on the internet with a leftist. It is this obtuse obliviousness where you will find yourself wasting time trying to explain your point in such a minute detail that you start to realize, what's the point? If this person doesn't understand it at this point, then they're never going to understand it. So what's the point in carrying on the discussion? So look out for the obtuse responses. Look out for the fake obliviousness, the obliviousness where you're deliberately ignoring what's in front of your face. Once you see that, just know there's no discussion here. There's no point carrying on. There's no point interacting with it. One last bit of talking point is I recently had a situation today where someone mentioned this. Supposedly, this Muslim woman was speaking Welsh to her son, and someone said, "Speak English." At which point, someone responded, "Well, they're speaking Welsh because we're in Wales." Now, I looked into it. The area where they were supposedly based has such a small percentage of actual native Welsh speakers that the idea that a fresh off the boat Muslim would be speaking Welsh was minute, tiny. At which point a response would say, "How do you know that they were speaking it fluently?" That obtuseness made me respond, "So you think that this person was speaking a broken language to their child instead of speaking their first language to their child? That's ridiculous." And that's the end of that conversation. They know exactly the point I made. They know exactly why the whole story is probably a fabrication. Because let's put it this way, if they're struggling to speak English, which is one of the easiest languages to pick up, because it's spoken nearly everywhere in the world, how are they going to speak a language which, no offense to the Welsh, is limited to a very small corner of the earth? Especially in an area where, when I looked up, even of the natives, less than 20% of them speak it fluently. So again, obtuse obliviousness. So look out for those types of account, avoid them, or if you do want to interact with them, state your point clearly and precisely to begin with, and if they respond with an obtuse or an oblivious answer, just mute that whole conversation and move on to the next one. Do not waste your time with them. Anyway, I hope that helps people a little bit in future interactions online. I'll be trying to make a bigger video covering what I call the 3 steps of leftist debate, and hopefully I can get that done as soon as possible. It's just finding time and finding the words to bring across my point in a way that is easy to understand but also easy to articulate. But anyway, on to the next video, and I hope to see you there. Take care. Bye-bye.